back here on the UFC 254 preview show, and look who it is, 2020 presidential candidate and I would say entrepreneur extraordinaire, Andrew Yang. It is so cool to have you on the show talking mixed martial arts. First and foremost, how are you? How has the last couple years been for you? And have you still been able to take some time to watch some fights?
Thank you, Dave. It's great to be here. Last couple of years have definitely been a real journey and whirlwind, but I have to admit that there would be times in the hotel or maybe even on a Saturday night, because a lot of campaigning actually ends around a certain time. Like you're not that often having like midnight rallies. And so when it came down to Saturday night, if there was like a card on, I'd be like, hey guys, like anyone want to watch these fights with me? And then I think some of my staffers had to pretend to be fans.
Yeah, exactly. I would have fight parties all the time, and the more the merrier that want to watch the fights. And I did want to know, how did you get into mixed martial arts? I'm an old boxing guy, and then when MMA kind of really got started, about for me 10 years ago, the interest arose. What drew you to mixed martial arts?
Imagine being an Asian kid growing up in the 80s and just seeing kung fu movies all the time and everyone being like, do you know karate? And at one point you'd have to be like, yes, I do. So I went and studied martial arts for a while as a teen, and then I competed a bit. And so if you do that kind of thing, then when the MMA and UFC come along, you're like, ooh, like let me see what this is about. So I had my bachelor party at a UFC event, been a fan since I would say Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner, like that Ultimate Fighter one, that kind of set off the entire modern UFC. And I knew about the Tank Abbott, Ken Shamrock,
Oh, yeah.
Dan Severn, stuff that preceded it, but I was not that into it until the modern iteration.
I do want to ask you about the main event coming up Saturday night in Abu Dhabi. We've got Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on Justin Gaethje. And when you see these matchups, right, you get the Russian against the American, you can promote it almost like Rocky Four, right? You can do it like an Apollo Creed against Drago. Is that fair in sports when you see Don King used to do it in boxing all the time, and they do a little bit here and there? Do you think that's fair, or would you rather the athletes are not wrapped around their individual flags?
If I don't know much about a fight or the fighters involved, I root for the American, honestly. Look up and just say,
Me too.
and in this case, I know a fair amount about the fighters. And so I think having a degree of patriotism wrapped up in it is just natural. So it's human nature. Even the entrepreneur in me just thinks to myself, who do I want to bring home the prize money? Like, where do I want the prize money to go? Do I want the prize money to go to Florida or Arizona or Dagestan? Like I kind of prefer the former. And not to say, obviously in the scheme of international trade, it's a very small amount, but still, like that's the way my mind works. So I root for the American in most cases, whether I know about the fighters or not.
Let's talk a little bit about the fight on Saturday night, because when you and I were talking via Twitter, I got the sense that you like to watch Khabib fight. Now, Nurmagomedov is undefeated, as we know. Justin Gaethje is the human highlight, as they call him. Uh, Nurmagomedov is not only undefeated against all the men he's ever fought, he also apparently fought a bear in
Fought a
Russia and
bear,
beat
yeah.
him too.
We want to know
I don't
against
know.
bears.
Yeah, I don't know if the bear knew he was fighting though, Andrew. So what would you do if you had to fight a guy that's fought a bear? Like, how do you even start to comprehend that?
Well, first, let me say I'm rooting for Justin Gaethje, and like Khabib, I mean, you gotta respect and admire him, but I want to see him get beat. I think that's one reason why he's so appealing right now, is because he seems unbeatable or close to it, and so then you're like, ooh, maybe this guy is going to be the person that topples the champ. I loved how Justin Gaethje just took the interim title and threw it on the ground and was like, I'm waiting for the real one, because that is what this fight is about. And Gaethje has a profile where if anyone can threaten Khabib, it's someone like Justin Gaethje, because he's super dangerous on the feet. He's a high-level wrestler, so he's not just going to get ragdolled. So if there's going to be someone that's going to beat Khabib, it's Justin Gaethje.
Wow. Okay, you are actually breaking down the fight the way I do, Andrew, because sometimes I look at these fighters, and you mentioned Gaethje. This is a decorated wrestler who never wrestles. He just stands and trades with guys, right? Now you got a guy that's wrestled a bear. Do you actually think that Justin Gaethje is going to say, yeah, Khabib, you want to go down on the mat? That's cool with me. What style of fight do you think is going to play out in Abu Dhabi?
Well, it's clear that Justin Gaethje is going to want to strike, because who the heck would want to wrestle Khabib? Nobody.
Nobody.
But like the fact that Khabib, he's going to get it's going to become a wrestling match at some point, and the question is whether Justin Gaethje can get him off him and get back to his feet and then reinitiate the striking, and how much energy that's going to take out of both fighters. But like, no one expects them to get in there and Justin Gaethje somehow to, one punch knock out Khabib before Khabib gets his arms around him. I mean, like, you'd expect a long drawn out affair. And the question is whether Justin's going to be able to get back to his feet, get separation, and then have the energy to do damage, and which war of attrition ends up winning out. It's a very, very tall task for Justin Gaethje. But if anyone can do it, it's him.
Now, what I really like about you, Andrew, is you do not pull your punches on social media. You will make bold fight predictions. I cannot let you off the hook. I need a prediction. I know you're rooting for Justin. Who wins Saturday night?
I feel like if you were to ask me to activate my brain, I would say Khabib wins, because because you've seen him do nothing but win. And imagine the way this fight plays out. You can imagine Khabib turning it into a grind and just winning rounds. Maybe he doesn't get a finish on Justin, but he gets 3 or 4 rounds by getting control. So that's the way my brain says this fight is likely to go. So don't bet the rent or don't bet the house. Like, well, you shouldn't bet the house anyway, but like,
Right.
but if you had to ask me who I'm rooting for, I'm clearly rooting for Gaethje, and I think it's going to be a really great, exciting fight. Like, this is a fight where, if you're even a casual fight fan, I think you're going to wind up watching this fight.
Absolutely. And I like the way you use math, which is your trademark, to try to deduce who you think will actually win, even though the rooting interest might be a little bit different. I do want to ask you about Dustin Poirier, because it's very interesting you brought that up. And look, he said, there's not enough money for me to fight, but it sounds like now he is going to fight Conor McGregor. What do you make of that matchup potentially, which is going to happen in January as scheduled right now? That should be a dynamic one. And would you like to see the winner of that fight the winner on Saturday night?
Yeah, it makes sense to have the winner fight the winner of Khabib, Justin Gaethje. I'm rooting for Poirier in that fight. I've always been a Poirier fan. He always just seems like a really good dude. Ever since there was like a documentary from his Louisiana fight days. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I can't remember the name of it, but you saw like a young Dustin Poirier, and he was he was just very, very driven, very serious about his career and his work, and seeing him grow and develop into championship material like he is now. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. So I'm rooting for him against Conor McGregor. Also, who doesn't love a redemption story? Because it's like Conor McGregor obviously got the better of him last time.
Yeah, a long time ago. You're right. These fighters seem very different, and we'll see how that plays out in 2021. All right, let me give you a hypothetical, Andrew. It's 2023. I'm your campaign manager. You're going to win president of the United States in 2024. But there's a fighter on Saturday night that's fighting, and you need to stop whatever you're doing to watch that fight. Who is fighter X that would make you stop in your tracks to watch? And it could be a current fighter on the roster or a historical figure. Who would be the guy that Andrew Yang or woman that you have to watch fight?
Who are just my favorite fighters over the course of UFC fandom, like, irrespective of era. Because I was kind of a karate, taekwondo striking type, I was a big fan of Lyoto Machida, and he's still active.
Oh, yeah.
And Wonderboy Thompson. Those are 2 of my favorite fighters. I was also a big BJ Penn fan back in the day, though that's been a tough ride for us BJ fans.
Yeah. Andrew Yang, what a pleasure it is to have you on the program, talking all things MMA. And again, I look forward to following your career, and I appreciate what you're doing to help out Americans. So thank you.
Thanks, Dave. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate the heck out of you. We just got to do what we can to help people here and now. But yeah, we'll be back. The Yang Gang's not going anywhere.